Hello, everyone, and welcome to Live at the Waterhole. I am thrilled to be here with all of you. And we're starting off at Lisbon Falls in Gaskop in Mpumalanga. What a wonderful way to start Live at the Waterhole. It's me, Trishala. I'll be with you through the whole day. Well, for the next 2.5 hours at least, or 2 hours. What am I talking about? See, this is why we need to start off at Lisbon Falls, where it's nice and beautiful and just really gets you to be immersed in nature. Now, of course, we are live and interactive as usual. We're Wild Earth. It's all about being live and interactive. So please send through your questions and your comments. You can do that by heading over to our website and registering, or you can use the hashtag Wild Earth if you're using social media like Twitter or X. You can even scan this QR code. And if you're in the YouTube chat, remember to use @FC so the wonderful people in the final control know that you want to talk to us. So, here to answer any questions, address any comments, have wonderful conversations like we always do. I've been really enjoying Live at the Waterhole recently. I haven't been doing as much as I usually do over the last year. But the few times I've been with you over the last 2 weeks have been really, really wonderful. So, whatever questions you have, whatever discussions you want to have, this is such a nice community of like minded people that are ready to chat to you about those. Now, I actually haven't been to Lisbon Falls during Live at the Waterhole before, and Gwen, who's in the director's seat with us this afternoon, she said, why don't we start at Lisbon Falls? I said, that is perfect because maybe you've had a morning of admin and things you needed to sort out and okay, I'm getting a little personal here. Maybe rental companies or insurers you needed to fight with. Wink, wink. But whatever it is, this is an opportunity to just take a break. And I love that it's in the middle of the day. So let's do that right now with Live at the Waterhole. I love to have these really nice moments of just absorbing into what we're looking at. And I'm so thankful to have the different cameras that we have with Africam around Africa, because it means that in the comfort of our home during a busy day, we can just slide right into African wildlife and African wild spaces. So, right now, let's do that. Let's take a moment, let go of all the admin and headaches you've had to deal with for the beginning of the day on this Monday, and let's get ready to enjoy African wildlife. Did you take a few deep breaths? Did you calm yourself? Did you say, doesn't matter what happened in the rest of the day, doesn't matter what happens in the afternoon. Right now, it's all about African wild spaces and African wildlife. I certainly did. I also closed my eyes and I just listened to the sounds, and then I opened my eyes and I watched the way the water falls, and also this mist that I absolutely love when I go to waterfalls. Probably one of my favorite things. Now, this particular waterfall, it's about, I think I once read it's about 94 meters high. Um, so one of the tallest in this area, a great place for bird life. It's right around that panorama route in Mpumalanga if you ever go down that way, um, around the Blider Canyon. A wonderful place to stop. And you can see that everything is lush and green. When I see this type of environment, I just think it's a paradise for the vegetation around here. But also, you know that it's the wet season and we've been having quite a bit of rain. So these falls are really looking very, very strong. It's reminding us about all the abundance that's out and about at this time. I've got a ton of hellos coming through. The nanny says, "Good morning, Trishala. Lovely to hear your voice again." Thank you so much. It's lovely to be with all of you, especially on a Monday morning. Mercedes, you say, "Greetings, Trishala, Wild Earth Crew and Chatters. Happy Monday." Thank you very much. Happy Monday to you too. Joanne Mello, you say, "That is beautiful." It really is. Can you imagine sitting on the edge here? There's really no space for anything else. All your senses are engaged. You can hear, you can see, you can feel the dampness on your skin. You'd be able to smell the wetness, you'd be able to smell all those compounds that are evaporating off the different vegetation. It really is, excites all the senses. Erica, you say, "Hi, Trishala. Greetings from a perfect sunny day in Cape Town. You look forward to the conversations." Well, Erica, you know what? You are quite the conversation starter. So let's see what you have in your pocket today. Penelope, you say, "Hello, Wild Earth and Trishala and everyone from a wet, wet, wet KZN North Coast." Oh, I'm sure it's very wet. I have family that live in KwaZulu Natal, and they have said the rain has been relentless. And here in Johannesburg, it's also been really, really rainy. In fact, today is probably the first day in a while that I've had a bit of sunshine. Penelope, you also say, "What a beautiful sight, Lisbon Falls in the Graskop area." Oh, you've swam in the pools below. Oh, please tell us about it. And we can add more to everyone's imagination watching these falls. I think that was a brilliant way to start live at the Waterhole. Michael Turner, you say, "Good morning, simply captivating." It really is. I think that when, after we have lots of discussions and lots of sightings, we'll return here to Lisbon Falls to, you know, remind ourselves about the pace of nature. Sometimes it can be super quick, like we so often have when we're out on safari on the vehicles during our sunrise and sunset safari. And other times, like during live at the waterhole, it can be really relaxing. And that's what I love about Lisbon Falls. But there is some animal action. So, how about we head over to Safari Hook? There's a variety of animals enjoying the waterhole. Exactly. Gwen just said to me, Gwen is our director. She just said to me in my ear, the zebras heard that you were going to come here and they've just decided to all leave. Thanks, zebras. At least we're enjoying the nice swinging of your tail as you walk by. Brilliant fly swatters. I can see quite a few things just buzzing around, but for the most part, they look like dragonflies, not actually flies. But the fact that the tails are moving around so much tells us that there probably are quite a few flies around. They're making sure not to get any of those too close to those sensitive areas. Oh, and yeah, we have a little mama and a baba. Mama's looking very pale on her hind quarters. This is something that I love to do when I look at zebras, particularly when I have the time to just sit and watch them. Because, I mean, quite often we don't give ourselves that time. And if you look at the different stripe patterns and any other unique feature that you see in the stripes, I find that really, I don't know, really entertaining. Helps me identify individuals, helps me watch. And what I especially like is that when you have a mum and a foal, it's quite interesting to see if there's any similarities in their patterns. Now, I'm not sure if their patterns are inherited. I think to an extent they can be inherited, but because this is the basic pattern for all zebras, I I think it's only to a small extent. But what I'm noticing here is we saw that mum's hindquarters there. She's got a lot of space between her stripes and the shadow stripe, which is the lighter stripe in between the two very dark ones. But if you look at the hindquarters of the little baby as well, it's also got that large space between the stripes. I think that's a result of inheritance. Now, I wonder if Mindy is around. Mindy had a really, really interesting question. Last time I had you all for live at the Waterhole, which was on Wednesday, and by some miracle, I can still see the question. This never happens, but I can. So Mindy asked on Wednesday last week. She said, looking at the zebra, we were at a different waterhole at that time. She said she's wondering about the direction of animal stripes. Do some go all the same way, or do they deviate in different directions like they do on certain zebras, and why? So, the way that animal patterns come to be, I should say mammal patterns rather, come to be, is a really interesting reaction. And it's got the most imaginative name possible. I'm being sarcastic. It's called a stop start reaction. And it's literally because as pigment moves across the skin of an animal, because pigment originates in the skin and then is expressed and pushed through the hairs that grow on the skin. So as that reaction goes through, it starts and then it stops. And so when it starts, it deposits pigment across a certain area. And when it stops, it stops. But there's two reactions that are happening at the same time. Sometimes that start reaction gets a big head start before the stop reaction can catch up. So the pace of those reactions determines what pattern we get. So in the case of this zebra, the reaction to stop, I think, happened very quickly, and that results in these large gaps. And then the start reaction happened. And then the stop reaction happened to form a stripe. And then that stop reaction lasts for a long time again. I realize that this is much easier to explain when I can see you all because I'm looking at this image and I'm actually using my hands. But all patterns in mammals are formed that way. So even whether it's stripes or whether it's spots, they're all formed in that way. It just matters in what direction that stop start reaction is moving in. And interestingly, it kind of happens um, like printing on a piece of paper. So these stripes are not actually forming like one stripe at a time, but the beginning of each stripe is forming at the same time because of that reaction. And then it kind of builds and builds and builds instead of just one stripe at a time forming. Anyway, I hope that Mindy was here. I know sometimes I only get hold of her, or she only gets hold of us, I should say, uh, kind of like halfway through Live at the Waterhole, but I'm sure she will say hello if she is here. Okay, Gwen's told me she's not in the chat yet, but I thought it's really interesting since we're looking at zebras. And what I love about these kinds of explanations is by no means does it take anything away from how special these animals are. If anything, it makes me feel even more in awe of the complexities of how the things that we see and observe actually come to be. Now, another interesting thing about these stripes, if you look, okay, we can see a zebra side on very nicely here. So if we look at the front legs, go up from the front leg and you'll see there's a little triangular area where it seems like the stripes of the neck and the body kind of converge. That triangular area is apparently a very unique spot and might be what foals use to imprint their mother on themselves. So if they see that spot, then they know immediately that's their mother. Those things can't be seen in isolation because there's other spot patterns that the foal may notice. There's the smell of mum, there's the behavior of mum. There's a lot of other things to consider. But apparently, that triangle is really special and really unique and very helpful to little foals. Spas, you say that that zebra almost looked pale like a quagga in its pattern. It almost did. So quaggas are extinct equids, equus, quagga, quagga, and they used to have a very pale hindquarters. In fact, similar to that, except the stripes didn't extend over that area. It kind of just terminated at the end of the belly. Now, there are a couple of projects. The most famous one in South Africa, where they're trying to bring back the quokka in a way through selective breeding. And what they would do is they would take those zebras that generally the virtual zebras or the plain zebras that are already kind of showing off that pattern. Oh, very nice. How did we even get here so quickly? We have a nice black stork. Now, sometimes in this area you get abdom storks as well, which are also very pretty to look at, but they come in these huge flocks. And they also have a beak that's slightly different and is darker. You can see that this one's beak is quite red. And the white kind of extends over their shoulders when their wings are closed. Hey Picasso, you wanted to just follow up on the interesting discussion we had on shell formation in birds last week. And you said that a friend of yours found a soft goose egg one morning, and the next morning it was hard. How long does it take for the soft shell to oxidize? Um, I'm not sure that it oxidizes as such, but it's more just hardening that happens. So remember, we talked about how when the egg is formed in the ovary and the oviduct, it's basically just a membrane, um, and then it reaches that shell gland that I'm trying to remember the specific name of, or maybe it is just shell gland. Oh, hello, giraffe. And that's where that calcium carbonate deposits start happening. And they form kind of like crystals and harden around that membrane. Now, sometimes it may not harden fully, because also remember that there's a lot of water or moisture in an egg. It's got the yolk and the albumin. So there's a lot of moisture in it. And sometimes that can change how quickly a shell hardens. But things like air exposure can help that because it means that moisture can start to evaporate and the shell. Also, that calcium deposits, that doesn't just happen in the mum, it can continue to happen once the egg has already been laid. And then on top of that, if it's warmer, it means that more moisture can be evaporated, and that also helps with hardening the egg. Or the eggshell, I should say. I also know that vitamin D3 is quite important when it comes to hardening the eggshell. So maybe environmental factors can play a part there. But soft shells are not always laid. But on the diet of the mum, the water content of the egg, that can all have an effect on how well that shell hardens. But thankfully, there are the environmental factors that can help it out too. Doesn't this make you all feel like we're hiding behind a bush and secretly watching this giraffe? That's what it makes me feel like. I feel the need to be very quiet. We haven't been spotted yet. This leaf is offering us very good cover. This kind of feels like a video game, doesn't it? Oh no, it's seen us. Well, earlier I said that we can't really see any flies, but we saw lots of dragonflies. But we could, it was at least indicated by the movement of all the animals' tails that there are a lot of flies around. And now we can. Oh, now, oh, I just got excited for nothing. Now we can hear the flies. The reason I got excited was I thought that there was a monitor lizard that was around the feet of the giraffe, but alas, it was a shadow of the giraffe's head. Sometimes we get excited out in the bush, and we have plenty of sightings of non sightings. Presida, you say three, sha, la. Yes, I've heard these all before. One that somehow happened to stick in Wild Earth was just calling me three sleeps because three shlala, which means to sleep. Yeah, somehow that just stuck. The most common one, though, is Trish. And if you're under the age of 4, I also accept Lala or Shala. Oh, I've also been called three jokes before because I have a Macedonian friend who said that Shala means joke. So I've been called three jokes before as well. I had a little bit of splashing about there, and so did the giraffe. I think maybe some zebras have gotten into the water. I've noticed that in Namibia, we see it as well at the Okokoyo Camp in Etosha National Park. The zebras tend to walk into the water to drink. And I think that's what we heard just now. Jen Mack, you say you had no idea that eggs were soft when they're first laid. How on earth did you not know this? Not all eggs. Um, Sometimes eggs can be laid soft, particularly if the mum has not consumed enough calcium to produce hard shell eggs. But What I can say is that the eggs that are first laid are softer. I mean, when they like just laid, are softer than they will be, say, a couple hours later or a day later. But occasionally you might get an egg that is actually quite soft. We're talking about birds' eggs here because reptile eggs are a little bit different and they can be soft, and that can be totally normal. But bird eggs, if the mom has enough calcium, then those calcium carbonate deposits are having a field day in that shell duct. Everything's hunky dory, and then when the egg is actually laid, then the calcium deposits can go on for longer. But if there's enough there, then it stops. But sometimes there isn't enough, and it continues after the mum has laid the egg. Sometimes maybe an egg is laid a little bit early. All has to do with her hormones, how many eggs she's laying, what her like. So not all eggs, but it can definitely happen. And at first, eggs may not appear to be soft to us, but they are softer than what they would be in a couple hours. Hey, Vildies, were you the reason? Wildebeest tend to be um, less exploratory around waterholes. They just come and do what they need to do, dip their heads to have a drink. Whereas as zebras, particularly in this area, they walk into the water, they give themselves frights, they kick up sediment, and they're pretty entertaining, I must say. PB and Jam, you say the waterhole has such a dramatic landscape. It is. If we compare this landscape to, I mean, Lisbon Falls that we started off at, so different. But also the whole habitat is different. But also we're getting lots of rainfall in those areas in the low felt, where Lisbon Falls is, compared to here in Namibia, where we know that we get less annual rainfall generally. It's a slightly more arid environment, more arid adapt species. So it is very dramatic. I especially like the dust clouds as animals move, and especially when wildebeest run. Speaking of dramatic landscapes and how different things can look, I mean, also look at the wind. It's really picking up their dust, making it look even more dramatic. Oh, in comes Mr. Giraffe. Oh, you are amazing. Or Mrs. Giraffe, I should say. Well, as our giraffe starts to move along, or maybe we should just wait for her. Maybe she'll dip down and have a drink, and then we can head off to Lentoria. What do you say, Gwen? Oh, we as soon as we say we're gonna go away from the camera, all the animals are like, no, wait, wait. Fine, we'll wait, Zebbies. Have a nice look at you having a drink. So this is exactly what I was talking about. See how that zebra on the left has walked right in. Now the one in the middle is also going to walk right in. And then they scare each other a little bit and they kick up a whole lot of sediment, which I can't imagine makes their drinking exercise pleasant. Just means more suspended particles in everything that they drink. But zebras are not exactly known for being fussy about the water quality. Everything's having a drink now. This is what I love about waterholes. A variety of species drinking together, all here with a single goal to quench their thirst. I wonder if we can just have a little scan around and see if there's any other species drinking at the waterhole. I feel like I can hear an elephant, or it could just be something splashing about in the water. But when we have a little scan, we can figure it out. There we go. That giraffe was like, that's my cue. I'm out. There's just too much going on here. Oh, here we have a Gemsbok having a drink as well. Oh, this is so cool. No illies, but I think it might have just been the zebras walking in the water and splashing about. Oh, isn't this a scene? These animals here at Safari Hook in Namibia really don't want us to go to Kenya, to Lentore, to look at the squirrels. Ah, very nice. Thank you very much, everyone. Oh, giraffes are, they always make me laugh how they really, really want to be in the least vulnerable position when they drink, even though they know that zebras are not a threat to them, elephants are innately not a threat to them, but they'll still wait until everyone clears out before they feel relaxed enough to have a drink. The only exception to that on the cameras is Oldonyo, where zebras, I feel, or I mean, giraffes, I feel, are very brave. Sometimes, though, it's not the best. If you've been watching the cameras over the last year, you would have seen that giraffe that got killed by an elephant at the waterhole. It always pays in the bush to be extra cautious. Okay, thank you, wonderful animals here at Safari Hook. Let us now finally head over to Lentore in Kenya and see if we have the ground squirrels, or maybe we can do some cool birding. They know, everyone. They know when we're going to head to the camera. Sure, we have some firefinches, but I think those ground squirrels are around as well, and they're so interesting to watch. And what I like is that we're so zoomed in to the edge here. I kind of really like that because something might just walk into the frame and it kind of gives you a little bit of a fright. And it's so nice and shady here. I think it is a bit of an oasis for so many animals, especially now being summer and it's so hot and the sun beating down. A nice shady waterhole is just the best. Oh, wow. Did you just catch something, Sparrow? Nope, tossed it aside. Is now giving us the look. Oh well, the camera needs a little bit of TLC, but it looks like we're in the Sabi sand. And Juma, oh, what a happy little water buck. Mum's looking at it as if she thinks it's crazy. Little one, do you know the leopard density in this area? Please be careful. Isn't that such a joy to see a little animal just having fun? And I'm so, so keen to see what this dam looks like because Juma in the Sabi Sand has received a lot of rainfall. And the last time I was there in December, it was just looking so dry. This main dam, Vuyatela Dam or Gari Dam, it was basically a muddy puddle in the middle. And I've seen some pictures of what it's become after these great rains. Oh my goodness. So much water. It's amazing how quickly things can change in the bush. I mean, these big rains came late, but even though they came late, they still fill up the dam. But we need that type of rain consistently during the wet season so that the ground really gets soaked, so that the water can last. Now, this dam is one of those dams that even during the dry season, it manages to survive. Yes, it shrinks quite a bit, but it manages to survive. There are years, however, when it is so dry and the rains either come so late or not hard enough that that puddle is all that remains. But for the most part, like over the last 2 or 3 years, Riatella Dam has managed to retain quite a bit of moisture and water, um, even well into the height of the dry season. So it becomes an important spot for many animals to take advantage of what is a very precious resource. Is it just me, or does this little one look very wet? But it could just be from the rain. But sometimes we see that just after birth. But I'm not seeing any afterbirth or anything like that on mum. Okay. Jarrett, who's also in FC, says that this little calf has been around for a couple of days. Fantastic. Oh, you are so cute. And down they go over the other side of the dam wall. The Egyptian goose that's in that dead tree looks as if it's just like, if I don't move, they're not going to see me. My goodness, look at this. Look at Viotella Dam. It is so full. Oh, this is so good to see. Oh, Juma just looks exquisite. I think that Juma in the Sabi Sand is probably one of my favorite places in the world. PB and Jam, you're wondering about that circular white marking on the butt of a waterbuck. And if there's any use for it, maybe they use it for identification. I'm not aware of any uniqueness to distinguish individuals um, with regards to that white circle, but it's called, or what we often call it, is a follow me sign. So it's really great, especially for young calves, to be able to follow their mother through dense bush or when they take flight. It's very easy to see. And one thing you'll notice out in the bush is that there's two colors that are very, very, very obvious because we don't see it. One is black and one is white. So when you see those colors, it almost always stands out in the bush. Oh, do we have a vulture? Oh, lovely white-backed vulture. So what this means, PB and Jam, is that through the waterbuck's evolutionary time, those calves whose mums had that white patterning on the bum were better at following her, and that increased their chance of survival. And so it becomes something that's prominent because it's easily passed down, because those calves that can follow their mother most likely reach maturity and can reproduce. And as you can imagine, the white mark on, I mean, it's such an obvious round mark. It really looks like they sat in, on a white painted toilet seat. It's definitely lent itself to quite interesting folklore. One that I remember was a waterbuck and her calf were feeding outside a tribesman's um, hut, and the grass was just so lush, but the tribesman was painting the walls. And then he came out, and the waterbucks ran away, and he got angry, so he threw the paint at them. And then the mum was very pleased because it allowed her, she was shocked, but then she was very pleased because then she could see her calf at night and her calf could see her at night. So, really, it's just a great way to pick up on something really quickly, something being white and something being black. The other thing that I find really obvious in the bush is a solid color. If you see something of a solid color, no matter what color it is, it's almost never natural. There are all these subtle variations, which is, I suppose, why camo is so effective to hide in the bush. Erica, you say you saw Dewey jumping around in glee when he returned here. I'm sure he was very happy. If you're not sure who Dewey is, it's kind of the resident hippo we see here at this dam. A beautiful hippo bull with a very prominent dewlap, which is why he was named Dewey. And Rebecca, you say you love vultures. They're such incredible creatures with such an important job. I'm 100% am there with you. They do have such an important job. We know that we kind of call them the cleanup crew of the bush, and it's not just because they consume leftovers and carrion and are able to do it in such specific ways. The larger vultures, like the white-backed vultures and lapped-faced vultures, going after the big pieces of meat, but still not the type of meat that they would be um, competing with lions and other large predators for. And then we get those smaller vultures, like hooded vultures, who have a much more refined and smaller beak that are able to get into all these smaller places, like in between ribs, and clean those areas up. So, yes, in that sense, they are a cleanup crew. But even more than that, vultures can ingest so much bacteria that they kind of render what would be infectious and damaging to the wider population, they kind of render it inert. Once they consume that meat and it comes out the other side, it's no longer a threat to the other animals. So they play a very, very critical role in maintaining ecosystem health. Well, I am so, so pleased to see Vriatella Dam like this. So much water. It makes me so happy. I might have to do a dance like Dewey, except I don't have a dewlap, unfortunately. But speaking of water, how about we head over to Stony Point, catch our breaths again, enjoy the sounds of the ocean, and of course, spend some time with some African penguins. Oh, here we go. There's so much moisture in the air at the moment. It's summer, it's humid. I just want to go out and wipe the cameras. So there's two things I want you to notice here. One, we have the penguins on the rocks. Let's see which direction they're going to go out in. Are they going to go back up towards the nests? Or are they going to go further down towards the ocean and jump in for another spot of hunting? And then also see if you spot any penguins coming in from the water. Or some cormorants. That cormorant looks like it's just playing. Just grabbed a piece of kelp and off it went. Anyway, time for some silence from me and for us to make some keen observations and enjoy the sound of the ocean. Oh, this is interesting. Those cormorants were kind of pecking at that poor penguin's behind. Now, I imagine that it's quite warm out here, and that sun is probably quite harsh. And imagine you've got black feathers and you've got a good amount of insulation. Probably going to warm up quite quickly on that beach. So down into the water is your best option. And sometimes they do this, they just frolic, they play. And though they may look quite clumsy on the rocks and on land, in the water they just zoom around. I'm not sure I've seen cormorants play like this on this end of the beach either. They're also looking like they're having a lot of fun. I find it really interesting that when penguins move on land, they seem to look so carefully at every step that they take. And you'll see what I mean. There we go. See the one that's hopping from rock to rock and coming to join these other two? Look how it's positioning its head. It's looking very carefully at each step it's going to take. Now, I wonder if that's a result of penguins' eyesight, because although I haven't seen specifically a study on African penguin eye anatomy, I have seen a few on just general penguin anatomy, eye anatomy. And it appears that they have kind of a flattened cornea. And while our eye is nice and round, which is just perfect for the refraction that we see in air, and then also we have a perfectly shaped lens to account for that, penguins kind of have a circular, like a very round lens, and the cornea is flattened. And if you were to look at their eyeball, it's almost egg-shaped, so it's taller than it is wide. And what that does is it means that in the water, it is perfect. They can see really well. They can see as well as we can see on air in water. But we know that those are two different types of mediums, and the density is different, which means that, at least for us, we see refractive errors when we jump into the water. And you will know that if you try and, touch your feet in the pool and you kind of miss every now and then. So for penguins, they can see perfectly in the water due to that flattened cornea and the shape of their eye. But when they're out of water, they can be short-sighted. And I wonder if that's why they look so carefully everywhere that they walk. I think it might be a little bit difficult for them to determine exact measurements and where to step and where to jump without a bit just a tiny bit more effort to move around on land in terms of what they can see compared to in the water. And if you think about it, they're pursuit hunters, so they need to be able to see their prey very clearly, and a compromise has to be made somewhere. And here that compromise is, yes, they can still see okay on land, they're a little short-sighted, but where it counts, where they are pursuit divers, They hunt and they mostly use their sight to hunt. That's where it counts most for vision to be perfect. And it also means that we get to watch them be a little bit clumsy and look super cute as they try to determine where to step next. Hey PB and Jam, yes, we are at this camera all the way down in the southern end of South Africa. Southwestern end of South Africa. In the Western Cape. Now the southernmost point is still a little while away from here, but generally speaking, yes, we are all the way at the bottom of South Africa. Oh, this looks like a nice spot to cool down in. Oh, I love the little tail shake. It's really important to shake out that tail, because as they walk, they can collect a lot of debris. Their tail kind of sweeps behind them. Maybe that's another reason that they bend so much as they're going to take a jump. Maybe they're trying to lift that tail off so it doesn't gather as much debris as if they didn't do it. Because also it means it could be heavier, it could cause drag in the water. So it's important to keep all feathers nice and clean in the best possible condition, because it directly affects how well you can hunt in the water. Hi Darkmane lover, a hello to you too. It's very nice to have you all on board, and it's my pleasure to be with you. And I'm glad that you're enjoying the sightings, and you give a good old yay. I love a yay. I'm a yayer myself. All right, everyone, how about we head back up to East Africa, to Kenya and Lintore, and have a look at some of the resident baboons who have made an appearance. Wow, you never really realize when you spend time in the ocean or at the ocean how much sound there is, And then you move across to another place, or you get in the car, and suddenly the silence is so deafening. But this is a different kind of beautiful sound. We're looking at some olive baboons here. They really like to chill in this area. Nice little picnic spot for the family. There's a couple snacks here and there. Oh, just heard a fish eagle. And I did see a female that looked like she was definitely advertising her availability. Wow, that's that's unexpected. That was definitely unexpected. So that was indeed a youngster. I wouldn't exactly say it's a baby, but it's definitely not an adult that just tried to mate with the female who you could see that she was very swollen underneath her tail, which is an indication that she's ready to mate. Oh, tiny, tiny baby there. So, yes, that was really, really unexpected. I wouldn't have thought that she would allow that. It looked like it was a youngster that was about this size. So, not an infant, but definitely not even a sub adult. I really didn't expect her to allow him to mate with her. And on top of that, she looked like she was encouraging him. At first, she kind of picked him up. I guess that's one way to get a male to do what you want them to do. Just pick them up. But that was really, really unexpected. And I think that was not an actual act of mating. I think she's just got a whole lot of hormones coursing through her, and so does he. Oh, look at her. She's very, very swollen. Now, that's a really important indicator. Having that swollen behind is a great advertisement. It's telling all the males around that I am ready to mate, and if you mate with me now at this time, you are likely to be successful. Joanne Mello, you say you like baboons. They're always entertaining. There's just always something going on. I mean, just switched over and we saw, I mean, a very small baboon mating with a female. Always expect the unexpected with baboons. Interesting. I thought that that large male that we saw that just gave a bit of a sniff to that female who's advertising that she's an estrus, I thought that he was going to take that opportunity to mate with her, but he decided to walk on by. this is so sweet, that little one learning to climb. I think there's another individual that's kind of helping it out. Or maybe helping is a strong word. More like hindering, but it's all in the name of play. Everyone, this is crazy. I'm just gonna be quiet. Wow, we just had a front row seat to that fight. Those are two pretty big males that were having a go at each other right in front of this camera. Well done to the Zoomy. The Zoomies are the wonderful people that control these cams remotely. We could hear the calling, and you saw how intense it was right in front of the camera. Oh, and hello, you. How crazy was that? It's very interesting that baboons and velvet monkeys tend to interact with the cameras quite a lot. And I think that might be because there's a shield around the camera and they might see their own reflection in it. But they tend to interact with cameras quite a lot. And that one looked straight in at us. Leopard lover, you're asking if the big daddy kicks out the males like lion prides do? I think it just told me to keep quiet. So leopard lover, once baboons reach maturity, around between like 6 and 8 years old, they will naturally leave their natal group. And that's because they want to vie for the alpha position in other groups. It's also a natural thing that occurs because it helps to reduce the amount of inbreeding. But if he doesn't disperse, he's definitely going to get a reminder or two from the alpha male, but also from the females, very much like a lion pride as well. When young males, sub-adult lions, need to disperse, you'll find that it's most often the females that will start chasing him. And of course, that's for his own good. Dark Mane Lover, you'd like to know if baboons get mange. I can't say I've read about this specifically, but I've seen tons of baboons in Cape Town. And there were definitely a few that looked like they had mange. Okay, gonna be quiet. Oh, Joanne Mello, you said you liked baboons, and yeah, there's always something to interesting going on, something to watch when it comes to watching baboons. There's just always something. Earth Lover, that's an interesting question. You'd like to know if a baboon finds a leopard stash in a tree, will they partake in it? Interesting. So baboons are omnivorous, but they have a preference in their diet for vegetation, fruits, flowers, and though they will eat meat, it's not like a priority for their diet. Now, I can't say that I've ever seen a baboon come across a fish and seen them interact with it in any way, but I think just because they're intelligent and they're curious, they might give it a bite. They might just be interested in what that is. A lot of the time, the types of animals that a baboon will take are fairly small. And as a general part of their diet, when we call them omnivores, that usually consists of arthropods. But I have seen a male baboon kill a scrub hare before, and it was a fairly sizable scrub hare. But I'd imagine that small mammals taste quite different to, say, an antelope, which is what we're likely to see in a leopard stash. So I think just out of curiosity, they might have a nibble. But I also think that they know very well that if they find an animal in the tree, it's likely a leopard stash. And the leopard can be up in the tree and chase them away at any moment, which then is a risk for them. So if the leopard isn't away, I'm sure they would take a sniff, take a bite just out of curiosity. But if the leopard is around, I don't think they would risk it. Melanie, what an interesting question, and something that I can't say I can definitively say yes or no to. So, Melanie, you're asking, is it true that male baboons are likely to be less aggressive or confrontational towards men than they are towards women? I have experienced this, and it's not just with baboons, it's the same with vervet monkeys. They are very aggressive towards me, but as soon as my partner comes and just walks towards them, or any of the other guys at camp just walks towards them, they definitely don't show the same kind of aggression that they show towards me. Now, if you think about why they would interact with humans, it's because they want something. Maybe they've learned that there's food around this camp, there's food outside this house. So you become part of their competitors. They want something you have. And I am an easy target. I'm small built. I'm far easier to, um, I suppose, intimidate than a large male. But I do get a little bit, I get a little upset. I mean, my partner is very tall, a very tall man, and he doesn't even, he just walks and they just step aside. If they see me walking through, it's as if they're all nudging each other's shoulders and saying, hey, 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 let's get her. But I'm not sure if there's any study that's been done that can confirm this, but it's anecdotally, I have definitely seen this. Now, if that's not an advert, I don't know what is. She's literally stood right in front of this other baboon's face and turned around to say, hey, looky here. Look at my swellings. I'm an estrus. Now she's going to all the females in the troop, but basically they want to they want to mate with the alpha male, but not all of them are going to be successful in mating with the alpha male. So they're going to mate with other males in the troop as well. Oh, hello, photobomber. And as you can imagine, raging hormones, a lot going on. Nope, that's not an advert for you, Impala. Peewee and Jam, you're wondering what family baboons are part of. Baboons are primates. So or else I should say the order is primates. And that's a really easy one for us to understand because we know mammal orders really well. We know lagomorphs are rabbits and hares. We know that felines are cats. We know that canids are dogs. So the easiest one is when we think about mammal orders. And primates is what baboons fall into. But if we're talking strictly about their family, it's Cercopidae. Gosh, I can never say it. Cercopithecidae. Cercopith. See, I always I find it much easier because when you refer to animals in these in that family, we say Cercopithecine, which for some reason is much easier for me to say than Cercopithecidae. So you might see reference to the Cercopithecine family when we talk about intelligence, like we say that hyena intelligence is similar to the Cercopithecine family. And that basically means similar to baboon intelligence. Oh, hello. Hammerkop is just staring in that direction. Well, this has been really, really entertaining, and I think we will return here. But for now, let's head over to Founders Lodge in the Eastern Cape of South Africa. It's always nice to see a change of environment. Oh, I love the colors here at Founders. Doesn't it just look like a Microsoft screensaver? It's also interesting to note, just thinking about baboons, that vervet monkeys, for example, are also primates, and they're also Cercopithecines, so they're still the same family, but they're a different genus. They're Chlorocebus. And when we, I mean, most, um, not, what am I looking for? Baboons are in the genus Papio, which is a really easy one to remember. So they're related because they're not only in the same order of primates, but they're also in the same family, but they're in different genuses. I always enjoy when we start thinking about a species in a wider context. What is their relationship to other species? How closely are they related? I mean, when you think about baboons and monkeys or vervet monkeys, you can fairly easily tell that they're different, but you can see that they're related. But you might not imagine that the difference in terms of their taxonomy comes really, really late, just at the genus level. Oh, these are some interesting markings. Just on the kind of like the spinal area. It looks like the stop start reactions I told you about at the beginning became really interesting there at the top. And I found that zebras here in the Eastern Cape, they seem to have a lot of variation like this. I see it a lot here, and I see it at Medikwe, where Tau lodges as well. I'm noticing that there's a little spot a very elongated spot, but a little white spot in that black stripe. Joanne, you say that you just love the red soil. It gives them beautiful, beautiful visuals, especially the red soil, the green landscape, and then the blue sky. And yes, the zebras make it all better. Much better to have an animal in between all of that. And Darkman Lover, you say you love zebras and their patterns. They are so beautiful. Oh, I see a. There's a warthog butt, everyone. Come on down, have a drink. Maybe you want to roll around. Well, this is mighty peaceful, isn't it? I can definitely tell you, and I think it's an interesting thing to note, even for yourselves when you watch live at the waterhole, or maybe when you just watch the different cameras, is the way you feel when you start compared to how you feel at the end. Because I'm definitely feeling better equipped to deal with today, much more relaxed. Definitely a bit of a spring in my step, big smile on my face. And I feel like if during Live at the Waterhole or any of the nature programs that we bring to you, if we could say at the end that our viewers felt more uplifted, had a smile on their face, felt more relaxed, then our job is done. And a cherry on top if you learn something interesting. Hi, Amira. You're 10 years old. Thank you so much for watching and spending time enjoying and learning about wildlife. You'd like to know how long is a zebra pregnant for? So, we call that a gestation period. That basically means how long is a any animal pregnant for. So, for humans, our gestation period is 9 months. And for zebras, like this type of zebra, it's called a Burchell zebra or a plain zebra, they're pregnant for about 12 months. So they have to carry their babies in their bellies for a whole year. And when their babies are born, they're pretty able. Unlike us when we're born and we need a lot of help from mom. We can't eat on our own, we can't move very much. But zebra foals, which is what we call the babies, foals, they can stand very soon and they can feed themselves. But first, of course, they drink mum's milk. And they drink mom's milk for a couple of months, sometimes as much as 11 months or even a year. But at first, they're only drinking mom's milk. And then as the months progress, they start eating grass because what needs to happen is because they eat so much vegetation, they need special microbes in their stomach to help them digest that vegetation. And when baby is born, it doesn't have those microbes yet. So it has to learn and acquire them. So it has to get those microbes from mum and from the environment. And then once its stomach is ready to go, mum will stop feeding it milk and it can just survive on vegetation. And we know that zebras are grazers, which means that they love to eat grass. I am patiently looking around to see if we can see any elephants on the cameras because I feel a little incomplete not having time with an elephant during live at the waterhole. But we still have 10 minutes, so it can still happen. And for me, Tembe Elephant Park in northern KwaZulu Natal usually has them all over the place. But today, all the elephants have decided to take a little vacation. I still have hope though. By the end of the show, I think we will see an elephant. Melanie, I'm so glad that you're enjoying live at the Waterhole and on your first day back at work. I think this is a great way to start the work year. I mean, I'm really happy that you're giving yourself the time and the space to just enjoy nature and the sounds and the images and all the wonderful things we can learn. I'm really glad that you're giving yourself the space to do that in the workday. So I think it's really important. What a stunning landscape, the Eastern Cape of South Africa, and so different to what we see on the other cameras. This lovely red soil, this hardy vegetation, and lots of open areas too. But I would love to go back to Juma, to the Sabi Sand Cam, and have a look at Dewey that I was telling you about and that you were commenting on. And he's having some fun with a stick. Oh, Dewey, you are having the time of your life. Oh, he must be so, so happy. All this water has returned. Again, coming back to what we discussed about just seeing animals do something that's not necessarily doesn't necessarily directly impact their survival, but just something out of fun. Whatever fun means to them, but what is interpreted by us as fun. Whether it was the water buck kicking up and jumping and enjoying itself, or Dewey playing with a stick, or baboons climbing up that tree and just having a bit of fun. That for me screams summer wet season abundance and safety because of that. And while it might just, for us look like fun that Dewey is enjoying the stick of his and playing around in the water by himself, in a way, he is increasing his chances of survival. Maybe he's practicing his bite force. Maybe he's practicing how well he can bite. Maybe he's giving his teeth a little bit of a workout as well. And those muscles that allow him to open his jaw up to that 150 degrees. But those things are not mutually exclusive. Fun can also mean practice. Mercedes, me too. It's amazing how quickly the dam can fill up. What a couple days of really good rains can do can just change things so quickly. Penelope, you are most welcome. I'm so glad that you enjoyed the show and the interesting discussions that we had. I always really enjoy this show too. And it's also important to note that these interesting discussions wouldn't be possible without all of you. So thank you all for being so good with sending through questions and comments and your experiences. It really helps us have a great show together. Dark Main Lover, we just all want to let you know that we're thinking about you and we're really glad that you're safe and that we hope that we can give you a little bit of an escape and a little bit of smile and happiness during live at the waterhole. And we hope that you stay safe and that your family members as well. Anyone in your area that's caught up with the fires, we wish you all the very best and you're definitely thought of. And we hope that we'll see you again and you will join us so that you can give yourself a bit of a break because I'm sure it's very, very stressful. Some really nice, peaceful moments before we have to say goodbye. Dewey's decided to put away his stick and chill out, and I think we too shall chill out. Thank you, everyone, for your questions and your comments. I will see you again on Friday. Bye for now.